Good evening, sports fans, and stand by for what is arguably the most explosive, pulse-pounding, and historically weighty bulletin we have ever broadcast on this feed. If you are tuning in right now, you have likely already felt the aftershocks, both literal and figurative, that have rattled the bedrock of Philippine athletics over the past 24 hours. We are not discussing a buzzer beater on the basketball court. We are not analyzing a knockout in the boxing ring. We are talking about the sport of tennis. That is correct, tennis. A discipline that has spent decades quietly existing on the periphery of the national spotlight here. It is a game usually celebrated by a niche crowd, understood by a select few, and almost never capable of bringing a sprawling metropolis like Manila to a complete standstill. That all changed today because of one woman. Let me be clear, the headline you clicked on is not hype. It is not clickbait. It is a stark, unfiltered account of a reality that caught absolutely everyone, from the event organizers to the security detail, the press, and even the star athlete herself, completely by surprise. The entire city of Manila is reeling. Alexandra Eala was effectively besieged by thousands of screaming admirers during a scheduled appearance. Let's take a moment to really process that scene. Picture the iconic Rizal Memorial Coliseum in your mind. This is a venue dripping with heritage, a sacred ground that has witnessed the blood, sweat, and triumphs of sporting giants for generations. However, the events of yesterday, Tuesday, January 27, 2026, were unlike anything seen before. It was a full-blown cultural explosion. Here is the background you need. The nation is currently playing host to the Philippine Women's Open, which is officially classified as a WTA 125 tournament. For those just joining the tennis world, this is a monumental milestone. It marks the very first time an event of this magnitude sanctioned by the Women's Tennis Association has graced these islands. Expectations were already through the roof. You could feel the electricity in the air days before the first serve. But let's be honest, the gravitational force pulling every single pair of eyes in the archipelago towards center court is one individual, Alexandra Eala. She is merely 20 years of age. She has cracked the top 50 in the global rankings. She is a graduate of the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy and a former US Open Junior title holder. Yet surpassing all those accolades, she is the hometown hero who has finally returned to compete professionally on her native soil. This is where the narrative shifts from a standard sports recap to a breaking news sensation. Tuesday was scheduled to be a quiet recovery day. Alex had already completed her first-round duties on Monday, delivering a clinical dominant performance to dismantle the Russian challenger Elena Korneva. The attendance on Monday shattered records. Every seat was filled, tickets were non-existent, and the stadium was vibrating with energy. Tuesday, however, was meant to be a chance to exhale. But the weather had a different agenda. As is tradition in the tropics, the heavens opened up. Torrential downpours hammered the venue, forcing a suspension of the day's main draw matches and bringing the tennis action to a grinding halt. The momentum of the tournament was in jeopardy. Under normal circumstances, spectators would pack up and head home frustrated by the delay. But we are not living in normal times. We are living in the Alex Eala era. Instead of dispersing, the crowd dug in. And they didn't just remain. Their numbers swelled. Word began to spread like wildfire. A whisper turned into a digital roar. Across social platforms, group chats, and timelines, Alex Eala, in a move of pure class to connect with her people, was planning a surprise meet and greet to compensate for the rain. The sequence of events that followed can only be characterized as a tidal wave of affection. Observers on the scene described a tableau that resembled a global pop star's concert or a royal visit rather than a standard tennis function. Thousands, literally thousands of devotees flooded the fan zone area at the Rizal Memorial Complex. We are describing a crushing sea of humanity pushing forward, desperate for a mere glimpse, a quick wave, an autograph, or a selfie with the young woman who has single-handedly placed Philippine tennis on the international radar. The organizers were reportedly left speechless. Security teams had to rewrite their protocols in real time. When we mention shock in our headline, we are referring to the absolute magnitude of this gathering. You have to grasp the context. Tennis in the Philippines simply does not trigger this level of hysteria. We are accustomed to seeing this fervor for Gilas Pilipinas basketball or for Manny Pacquiao fights. But for a 20-year-old wielding a tennis racket, this is unheard of. It represents a total paradigm shift in the sporting culture. Dispatches from the ground describe an atmosphere that was high voltage bordering on mayhem, yet underscored by a deep, resonant sense of national pride. These fans were not simply chasing a celebrity sighting, they were there to witness representation. They wanted to verify that the dream was real. We have received reports of supporters traveling from provinces several hours away, driven solely by the rumor that she might make an appearance. We reviewed footage of little girls holding tennis rackets far too large for their hands weeping openly when Alex glanced their way. This impromptu meet and greet transformed into a symbol. It was the physical manifestation of both the heavy burden and the immense privilege Alex carries. She has transcended being just an athlete. She has become a vessel for the hopes of a nation. When she finally stepped out into the fan zone, the noise was reportedly earth-shattering. It wasn't the polite applause of a country club. It was the guttural, visceral roar of a people who see their own potential reflected in her victory. And Alex, by all accounts, she handled the chaos with the grace of a seasoned veteran. Despite the crushing density of the mob and despite the overwhelming volume, she stood her ground. She put her signature on countless baseball caps. She autographed those massive, oversized novelty tennis balls. She paused for every requested photograph. She truly connected with the fans. But we have to ask, why is this behavior considered so stunning? Why has this specific sequence of events dominated the headlines? It is because it serves as undeniable proof that the dormant titan of Philippine tennis has finally stirred from its slumber, and that awakening is driven by one name: Alex Eala. It demonstrates beyond a shadow of a doubt that the commercial and cultural market for this sport is absolutely volcanic, provided you have the perfect protagonist to rally behind. The true revelation lies in the sudden understanding that the Philippines has evolved beyond being solely a basketball-obsessed territory. This is a populace starving for world-class excellence regardless of the surface the game is played upon. Over the course of the next 60 minutes, we are going to conduct a comprehensive analysis. I am talking about going significantly deeper into the layers of this narrative than any other outlet has dared to go. We are not merely going to report the fact that a large crowd gathered. We are going to deconstruct the psychological and cultural reasons why they mobilized in such force. We intend to examine the specific minute interactions that occurred on the ground, which ultimately define the legacy of this entire event. We will break down the fascinating remarks from international colleagues like Donna Vekic, who witnessed this pandemonium and confessed she wishes she could be adopted by the Philippines because the fan energy is unlike anything else on the Brock's tour. We are going to dissect the athletic performance that set the stage for this madness. The absolute demolition job Alex executed on Monday, winning with a scoreline of 6-1, 6-2. We will explore the intricate family dynamics at play, the immense weight of the homecoming, and the personal insights Alex shared regarding her situation. We will analyze her own words about two worlds colliding, the stark contrast between her disciplined life on the WTA professional circuit and her identity as a celebrated Filipina. We will also not shy away from the shadow cast by this spotlight. We need to talk about the terrifying burden of expectation when thousands of people are chanting your name, demanding victory, and encroaching on your personal space. How exactly does a 20-year-old athlete manage to keep her feet planted firmly on the ground amidst such chaos? Alex addressed this directly. She spoke candidly about observing the daily struggles of the average Filipino citizen and how that perspective keeps her ego in check. It is a deeply profound viewpoint, and we are going to unpack it. This is far more than a standard news bulletin. This is the documentation of a pivotal turning point in sporting history. Decades down the line, when historians analyze the trajectory of Asian tennis, they will trace the line back to this specific week in Manila. They will reference the rain-delayed Tuesday at the Rizal Memorial, where the boundaries separating the admirer from the icon evaporated and a young woman stood in the center of a hurricane of affection, changing the sport forever. So, I need you to buckle up right now. Go ahead and turn off your notifications. Put your mobile device on silent mode immediately. You need to absorb every single syllable of this report. We are about to step directly into the eye of the storm. This is the chronicle of how Alex did not simply participate in a tennis match. She effectively brought the entire city to a standstill. To understand this, we need the context of this full-circle moment. To truly grasp the absolute bedlam of the meet-and-greet session, we must first appreciate the stage upon which this drama was constructed. The 2026 Philippine Women's Open is not merely another fixture on the sporting calendar. It represents a monumental landmark. For years, tennis enthusiasts in the Philippines have been forced to support their idols from a distance. They watched Alex Eala capture the US Open Juniors title on grainy live streams in the dead of night. They tracked her ITF title victories by refreshing obscure websites. They celebrated her medals at the Asian Games from thousands of miles away. But during this week, that geographical gap was completely erased. This marks the first ever WTA 125 event to be hosted within the country. It is a legitimate professional tour-level competition. This translates to real ranking points. It affects world standings. It means high-stakes elite-level warfare. And for Alex, it was, to use her exact phrasing, a full-circle moment. I want you to consider the narrative arc we are seeing here. She departed the Philippines as a child prodigy, just a young girl carrying a heavy racket and an even heavier dream, moving to Spain to train at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy. She matured far away from her family home. She forged her skills on the red clay of Europe and the unforgiving hard courts of North America. She transformed into a global citizen of the tennis world. And now, returning as a top 50 player and a bona fide professional contender, she comes back. This is not simply a casual visit or a vacation. This is a coronation. And the trigger for all of this was the match on Monday. The mass hysteria that reached its peak during the Tuesday meet and greet did not materialize out of nowhere. It was ignited by her masterclass performance on Monday, January 26th. Alexandra Eala stepped onto the court at the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex to go head-to-head with Elena Korneva of Russia. The stadium was packed to the absolute rafters. Reports indicate that securing a ticket was a nearly impossible feat for the average fan. The atmosphere was stiflingly hot, a suffocating blend of Manila's natural humidity and the collective body heat of the crowd, yet Alex delivered. She did not just win. She systematically dismantled her opponent. The final score read 6-1, 6-2. It was clinical. It was aggressive. It was the specific brand of performance that declares, I am not here merely to participate. I am here to dominate. However, there was a fleeting moment in the second set, a spark of tension. Alex fell behind, trailing 1-2. She requested a medical timeout. A sudden silence descended upon the arena. Was she hurt? Was the immense pressure finally cracking her resolve? In that heavy silence, you could tangibly feel the collective anxiety of an entire nation. But she emerged from that timeout and proceeded to reel off 5 consecutive games to seal the victory. That display of resilience is what lit the fuse. The crowd absolutely went ballistic. When she addressed the press afterward, she stated, I think playing matches and seeing my two worlds collide, being in Manila and being on the WTA tour, is so full circle and emotional for me because it allows me to reflect on how far I have come. My two worlds collide. I want you to keep that specific phrase in your mind. That collision is precisely what precipitated the scenes we witnessed on Tuesday. We are talking about the mob scene inside the meet and greet. Now let us transition to the main event of our story. It is Tuesday, January 27th. The rain is pouring down. The matches are delayed. The frustration and disappointment could easily have become the headline of the day. Mother Nature tried to intervene and wash out the day's play, sending disappointed fans packing, but Alex decided she wasn't going to let the weather dictate the narrative. What was originally announced as a spontaneous, spur-of-the-moment meet and greet was likely envisioned as a modest gesture, a simple nod of gratitude to the hardcore loyalists braving the drizzle. However, the event organizers severely miscalculated the sheer magnitude of the Alexandra Eala effect and the hysteria she generates. Breaking reports from the ground confirmed that the second the fan zone doors unlocked, the vibe transformed instantly from a quiet waiting area into the chaotic energy of a sold-out rock concert with a shocking density of bodies. We are not speaking about a few hundred onlookers. We are talking about a massive sea of thousands. And these weren't just casual passers-by. These were devout followers of the sport. We have received specific on-the-ground testimonies from attendees that paint a vibrant and intense picture of just how electric the environment truly was. Consider the experience of the Jose siblings Yolena and Justine, representing the fresh generation of young women that Alex is directly motivating to pick up a racket. Yolena, who has only recently begun her own journey in tennis, described the encounter with Alex as an absolute dreamlike state, almost too good to be true. She confessed to being overcome with nerves, barely managing to stutter out a greeting, saying, "Hi, it is so nice to meet you," while trembling with adrenaline. Her sister Justine was equally overwhelmed by the moment, managing to encourage Alex on her performance before simply concluding with the heartfelt sentiment, "I love her." These brief human interactions are crucial because they put a face to the mob. From a drone's perspective, it looks like a swarm, but on the ground it is personal. To Alex, this isn't just a statistic. It is Yolena and Justine shaking with pure joy, extending a cap for a signature. Then you have the story of Arthur and Leslie Menner, a dedicated father-daughter team. Leslie is actually based all the way in the United States and has been tracking Alex's trajectory since the very early days of her junior career. She was physically present in New York when Alex captured the US Open Junior title back in 2022, and now years later she is right here in Manila. Just think about that level of commitment. Traveling across oceans to follow a player shows immense dedication, and it is no surprise that Leslie and Arthur were positioned right at the front of the queue. This level of devotion speaks volumes about the global reach of the Filipino diaspora and how Alex serves as a unifying beacon for them all. She acts as the connecting thread that binds the Filipino in Manila with the Filipino in New York, which leads us to analyze the crowd's psychology. Why the shock, and why such a massive turnout? Why was the emotional reaction so incredibly visceral? To understand this phenomenon, we must delve deep into the psyche of Philippine sports culture. For decades, the Filipino sports enthusiast has been wired to idolize the underdog, the scrapper, the boxer, or the basketball player, overcoming a height disadvantage to win. Tennis has historically been viewed very differently. It is often perceived as an elite, distant, and quiet sport, reserved for the upper crust. Alex completely shatters that stereotype because she brings that raw, gritty Manila energy right onto the tennis court. She is vocal and she battles ferociously for every single point. She possesses that puso or heart that Filipino fans are desperate to see. So when she hosted that meet and greet, she wasn't merely signing her name on merchandise. She was validating their presence and essentially telling them, "I see you, I know you are here, supporting me, and I am one of you." The surprise regarding the volume of people comes from context. The organizers at the Rizal Memorial are accustomed to the noise of PBA basketball or UAAP volleyball crowds. But to witness this level of hysteria on a random Tuesday afternoon for a tennis player, it completely broke the mold and defied all expectations. It has forced everyone involved to completely recalibrate their understanding of what is achievable for the sport of tennis in this nation, leading us to the Donna Vekic perspective. Perhaps the most insightful observation on this entire cultural phenomenon did not come from a local, but rather from an international observer. We are talking about Donna Vekic, the Olympic silver medalist, and a global tennis icon who is currently in Manila competing in this very tournament. Vekic has faced off against Alexandra Eala twice in her career, and she has defeated Alex both times. She knows the game inside out, yet what she experienced here in Manila was entirely novel, leading her to say, "It is amazing to ride on the wave of Alex's fame and popularity and what she brings to the country." However, the quote that truly resonates and defines the current atmosphere is the following statement she made to the press. "I played against her in Auckland and Melbourne, and the support for her is absolutely insane everywhere she goes. I said in an interview that maybe you guys should adopt me, and I definitely feel that you have. Adopt me." Vekic is a major European star. She is accustomed to the polite, reserved applause of Wimbledon or the corporate vibe of the US Open. So, to come to Manila and feel the raw, unfiltered heat of the crowd, even when they cheer for her opponent, is intoxicating. She noted that even though she was the opponent, there was something special about the energy in the air. Defeating Eala came with a silver lining because it allowed her to witness this specific cultural moment firsthand. Vekic also highlighted the critical impact this has on the next generation, noting how many children are starting to pick up rackets specifically because of Alex. Hopefully, hosting events like this will drive more popularity and provide greater access for kids to play, creating a massive ripple effect for the future. The thousands of fans mobbing Alex at the meet and greet are more than just spectators. They represent potential future athletes and parents deciding to buy a tennis racket instead of a basketball. They represent corporate sponsors looking at the engagement numbers and finally realizing that tennis is a commercially viable investment in this market. However, we must also address the pressure cooker environment and the weight of these massive expectations pivoting to the heavier side of this narrative. It is very easy for us to celebrate the massive crowds and cheer for Manila Mania, but we have to ask, what does this intensity do to a 21-year-old? Just imagine walking into a room and having thousands of people screaming your name, projecting their national pride, their hopes, and their dreams squarely onto your shoulders. That is an absolutely crushing weight to carry, and Alex is acutely aware of the burden she bears. Throughout her press conferences this week, she has been incredibly open and candid about the immense pressure she feels representing the nation. Eala candidly admitted that yes, stepping onto the court on home soil inevitably brings a massive weight of added pressure, but it is her sophisticated response to this burden that truly reveals a maturity far beyond her years. This mindset is exactly what separates a generational athlete from a mere flash-in-the-pan talent. She put it into perspective, stating, "Pressure is just a standard part of my job, but honestly, it is nothing compared to the crushing pressures that everyday Filipinos have to face just to provide for their families. She emphasized that the stress of a match is absolutely nothing when compared to the immense sacrifices her parents made to get her to this global stage. Let's take a moment to pause and really analyze the depth of that statement, because she is completely reframing the entire concept of pressure. She is effectively taking her ego out of the equation. She looks at the fan who scraped together their last peso to buy a ticket, or the supporter who stood in the pouring rain for hours, and she tells herself, "My stress on the court is trivial compared to their stress in real life." As a psychological grounding technique for a young athlete, this level of awareness is absolutely remarkable. It serves to keep her incredibly humble and deeply connected to reality. When she was mobbed by the crowds at the meet and greet, she wasn't acting like a distant queen looking down at her subjects. Instead, she was looking eye to eye with her people, human to human, silently acknowledging both their personal struggles and their unwavering support. She also noted that in those intense moments when the media frenzy and the weight of expectation start to feel a bit overwhelming for her, that is the mantra she repeats to herself. That is the thought process that allows her to feel small again, anchoring her feet firmly back on the ground. Think about that, actively trying to feel small in the exact moment she is the biggest superstar in the entire city. That is the definitive, unshakable mindset of a true champion. Now let's examine the biography of this moment and trace the incredible path that brought us to this point. To truly appreciate the sheer magnitude of the scenes at the meet and greet, we have to understand the long road that led to the Rizal Memorial Coliseum. Alexandra Eala didn't just materialize out of thin air yesterday. This homecoming has been building for years. Born in Quezon City in 2005 into a family with deep athletic roots, including a mother who was a national swimmer, destiny was already calling. She first picked up a racket at the tender age of 4. By the time she was 12, she was dominating the prestigious Les Petits, as in France, firing her opening warning shot to the tennis world. That success led to the pivotal move to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, where she left behind her family, her culture, and her comfort zone to train in the intense crucible of European tennis. The results followed quickly, with junior Grand Slam success starting with the 2020 Australian Open doubles, followed by the 2021 French Open doubles crown, and then the monumental victory, the 2022 US Open Junior Girls Singles title. That was the defining moment she became a household name, cementing her legacy as the first ever Filipino to capture a junior Grand Slam singles championship. However, the transition to the Pro Tour is often a graveyard for champions, where many junior stars fail to make the leap. Alex, however, simply put her head down and kept grinding. She battled through the ITF circuit, the wildcards, the inevitable injuries, and the tough losses. By 2025 and 2026, she was finally breaking through. She cracked the top 50 and began taking down top 20 opponents. She had evolved from just a promising junior into a legitimately dangerous professional threat. All that history, the lonely hours on Spanish practice courts, the endless flights, the personal sacrifices, everything converged this past Tuesday right here in Manila. The thousands of screaming fans packing the arena weren't simply cheering for a match win. They were applauding the journey itself. They were celebrating the girl who left home as a child and returned as a formidable woman. Looking ahead, the implications are massive. The events of this week, the sellout crowds, the chaotic meet and greets, the absolute media frenzy have irrevocably altered the landscape of Philippine sports forever. First and foremost, this week has proven the undeniable commercial viability of tennis in this country. Big sponsors are watching, and the WTA is watching. If a WTA 125 event can generate this level of heat, just imagine the potential of a WTA 250 or 5-100 tournament. This success could blow the doors open for major tournaments in the future. Secondly, it cements Alex Eala as a bona fide cultural icon, not just a sports star. She has officially crossed that invisible threshold into the realm of true celebrity. While this status brings complex challenges regarding privacy, security, and media management, it also provides a powerful platform to affect real change. Thirdly, it is inspiring the Alex generation. Those kids we captured on camera, the ones clutching their rackets with tears in their eyes, they are the future of this sport. In 10 or 15 years, when we see a surge of Filipino tennis players flooding the tour, we will look back at the 2026 Philippine Women's Open as the catalyst. As we begin to wind down our extensive coverage of this historic week, I want to ask you to close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to imagine the roar of the crowd inside the Rizal Memorial Coliseum. It is a very specific frequency. It isn't the organized chanting of a European football match. It certainly isn't the polite applause of a golf tournament. It is a high-pitched, chaotic, and absolutely beautiful wall of pure noise. It is the visceral sound of thousands of people discovering a new hero in real time. That visual of Alexandra Eala, engulfed by that sea of admirers with a pen in her hand and a smile on her face, is the defining image of 2026 for Philippine sports. It serves as a potent reminder that sport is never just about the scoreline. If this were solely about tennis, the rain delay would have sent everyone packing hours ago. If this were just about a game, the fans would have simply checked the results on their phones and moved on. But they didn't, they stayed. They endured the humidity and pushed forward for a single glimpse because they were searching for something more. They were looking for hope. They were looking for tangible proof that a Filipino can stand toe-to-toe with the world's best and emerge victorious. Alex Eala provides that proof. With every blistering backhand and every passionate fist pump, she is narrating a story of limitless possibility. And that shock we discussed in the headlines. It is the best kind of shock. It is the jolt of waking up to a new reality. It is the sudden realization that we have a rare diamond right here in our midst. Now we must also acknowledge the heavy responsibility that falls on us, the fans, and the media to nurture it. We have witnessed firsthand how the phenomenon of Manila mania can elevate a player to incredible heights, yet we remain acutely aware of the crushing weight that comes with such massive expectations. As Alex pushes forward through this tournament and navigates the next stages of her professional career, the true challenge for the thousands of fans who pack the venue to see her lies ahead. Their duty is to stand by her not only during the triumphs and autograph sessions, but to remain steadfast when the losses come, when exhaustion sets in, and when the torrential rain simply refuses to let up. That unwavering loyalty will be the ultimate test of this fandom's devotion. But for the time being, let us simply soak in this electric atmosphere and appreciate the history unfolding before us. We must celebrate the remarkable reality that a 20-year-old prodigy has returned to her homeland, only to discover an entire nation embracing her with the warmest of open arms. While the headlines might scream shock, a more fitting description would be a reawakening. Manila has truly come alive, and the rest of the tennis world has officially been put on notice. Make no mistake, Alex is only just beginning her ascent, and we will continue to bring you comprehensive coverage of the Philippine Women's Open as the action unfolds on the courts. Our team will be present for every single match, every post-game press conference, and indeed every chaotic yet heartwarming meet and greet session, because we are witnessing history, and we are privileged to have a front-row seat to take it all. From the historic grounds of the Rizal Memorial to the global stage, this has been an in-depth exploration of the rapidly growing Alex Eala phenomenon that is taking over the sport. The young talent who once departed as a promising prospect has returned as a bona fide queen, and the thousands of supporters surrounding her are nothing less than her loyal court. We want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone for sticking with us throughout this extensive breakdown and live analysis of the events. It is a rare privilege in sports reporting to narrate a story this rich in detail, this emotionally charged, and this significant for the region. Now, here is the next step for our viewing audience. If you wish to experience the intensity of the meet and greet again, or if you are looking for a technical breakdown of her match against Kulikova, we have provided links to the raw footage and highlight reels in the description section below. Take a moment to truly observe the expressions on the faces of the fans and the sheer passion radiating from the crowd in those clips. Witness the raw emotion on display and let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Were you present at the venue, or if you had the chance to meet Alex Eala personally? What message would you share with her? That wraps up our coverage for now. Stay passionate, remain proud of our athletes, and keep your eyes fixed on the court. Good night, everyone.